Speedway Community Magazine, helping you get connected, stay informed, and be a part of the community. Information you want, information you need, on Speedway Community Magazine.
Greetings everyone, and welcome to a special issue of Speedway Community Magazine. I'm your host this week, Ian Nicolini, Town Manager with the Town of Speedway, and joining me is Calvin Davidson, the General Manager from Ray's Trash. Calvin, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Calvin and I are going to talk a little bit today about our new solid waste and recycling program, and also show you some of an inside look at the recycling center here in Indianapolis. As you can see, we're on an active site. They're working today, so bear with us if there's any strange sounds or equipment driving by. These guys are staying busy, getting ready to open the recycling center. Briefly, I want to just give a quick overview of our solid waste and recycling program. Our contract with Ray's renews on January 1st, and some customers are going to see some small changes, and we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with that before we get a chance to talk about all that's taken place here at the recycling center here in Indianapolis. The program itself is going to keep our existing schedule. So if your collection day was Tuesday, it'll continue to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Heavy trash schedule also remains the same, and we'll get a chance to discuss some of those specifics later on. But what's really exciting is that our relationship with Ray's is for 10 years. They presented a very competitive contract and an opportunity for us to work together as community partners for the next 10 years. And barring any changes in service, we'll be able to keep our rates the same for the 10 years of that contract. So we've gotten several questions from customers on our Facebook and through email, phone calls, and so Calvin and I are here to do our best to try and answer some of those. But before we get started, if you have any questions, please feel free to send those in to us. You can call us directly at 246-4141. You can also reach us on our Facebook account or send us an email. So Calvin, the first question we've gotten a lot of, if we're switching to automated service, so residents are going to get 96-gallon containers for solid waste and recycling, when can they expect to have those delivered?
We will be delivering the containers the week of January 5th through the 9th. So
those customers that have a recycling container will want to take it out to the end of the driveway and leave it where it'll be collected by Republic. So they'll do one final recycling collection during the week of January 5th, and you guys will at some point in there follow up and drop off new containers.
That's correct. We won't be removing the old containers. The Republic will be by to get their container, so you may actually see both companies' equipment sitting there for a brief period of time. And even if you don't have it full, it's good to go ahead and set it out so that they can empty whatever you do have at that point and remove the container.
Great. There's usually a lot of questions, since we're switching recycling providers, about what items you can recycle. Let's walk through some of and while we're talking, we'll roll through what you guys use as the acceptable and not acceptable recycling items. But in general, what can customers recycle?
Items that are marked with a 1 through 7, and we often refer to it a 1 through 7, mean items that are marked with a 1 in the middle of the recycling symbol. Those are commonly water bottles, 2-liter soda bottles. They can be clear or light green. Bottles that would contain food and beverage type products. So not necessarily anything that's marked number 1 with the recycling, such as packaging. Sorry.
It's an active site. There's going to be some of that.
We are recycling. That's a good news.
Right.
So items marked with the 1 recyclable symbol aren't all created equal. So packaging and other items that are not necessarily the same as a food and beverage number 1 should be not included in the program. We're really targeting the food and beverage containers. Items like that are number 2, which would be milk jugs, laundry detergent products, are often in the number 2. Number 5 are often shampoos, beauty care products. We just ask that those be as clean as possible. They don't have to be dishwasher clean, but we would like them rinsed out before they're placed in the recycling bin.
So when you place your recycling in the bin, it can go in commingled. All of your recycling goes in, doesn't need to be sorted. You guys sort that here,
That's right.
As we see a little bit behind us. Now, one of the questions we get a lot is, can I bag my recycling? And I know that you've got some really complicated equipment. We're hopefully going to be able to walk through and show some of that. Tell our folks what really is the best way to get their recycling into the container.
We like to receive the materials loose, so we prefer that we don't receive the bags. We don't receive bagged material. It's easier for the material to be sorted if we encounter it loosely. Bottles are bottles, paper and magazines are separated. For years, we've asked you to keep the newspaper and magazines neatly to one side of the bin and the bottles and cans to the other side of the bin. The great part about this new program and what allows us to offer this for the next 10 years, it is a very expensive approach, and that's why beneficial both to Rays and the community to engage in a long-term agreement. But the benefit is that you can put it all into one larger bin and include many materials that weren't previously included.
So you guys are scrambling right now, right? Because you're just about ready to open up your new recycling center. You've got some incredibly high-tech equipment. And most of that really is for the purpose of sorting out your recycling and recyclable materials. And I got to tell you, I had a chance to walk through, and it was as impressive a process as I've ever seen. And so I commend you guys in the work that you're doing. Really excited to see it up in operation here. What about some of the common recycling items, like a pizza box? What do we do with pizza boxes?
Paper and cardboard are encouraged, or we encourage everyone to include paper and cardboard in the new program. Pizza boxes are often discussed because of the grease or the other matters or components that are in the box. We want the clean pizza box. Just please discard the crust or the mushrooms or the peppers that you chose maybe not to consume.
So the little three-legged table that goes in the middle,
right.
Go ahead and dispose of that separately.
Correct.
Gotcha. And unless it's recyclable.
It's not at this time because there's too many manufacturers, though. They're not all made the same. And if there's excessive grease, if it's just too sloppy and greasy, if it looks like food waste, put it in with the trash and with the food waste. But if it's a nice clean cardboard box with just a little bit of stain, please include that in the program.
So Calvin, what about recycling paper? Can you walk us through a little bit of some of the common recycling things to avoid, things to encourage?
Well, we all know the newspaper is a little bit thinner today, but we still want your newspaper, we want your magazines, the junk mail, even the carton that many of us grew up with as a milk carton today is recyclable. So the fiber carton that orange juice or some of the soups and broths, regardless of whether it has a flat top or a gable top, those cartons are recyclable again, and we're pleased to offer that to the community as a recyclable item.
That's great. That's great. And then, so what should I be looking for in terms of cardboard? I mean, you mentioned that it needs to be clean. What other sorts of characteristics of the cardboard should we look for?
Mostly clean. Remove the packaging. Pull if there's plastic bags in the box or styrofoam peanuts. Styrofoam is unfortunately not recyclable, and it creates a bit of a mess at the curb if you try to dump one of these containers and it has styrofoam peanuts in it. So we just ask that you empty the cardboard box. We still would like you to flatten the box. You'll be able to get more materials in the cart when you recycle. And shredded paper is another common item that we run into today. Folks have shredders in their homes, and we do encounter shredded paper. We would ask, that's the only item that we would like you to bag. So if you could bag shredded paper in some type of fashion that it's kind of obvious what's in the bag, we would like the shredded paper contained so it doesn't make a mess.
That's because it sort of converts into a dust as it's being ground up, right?
That's
so if it's already shredded, you've got the fine particulates. So you mentioned the newspaper earlier. So I get it in a bag, right, so to prevent it from the elements. Can I recycle all of that together, including the bag?
Yes, you can, but we would like you to pull the bag off and leave it loose in the cart and the paper loose as well.
So make sure that those are separate, because otherwise it's going to go through the system and it's not able to take that out of the sleeve.
Right. Even though there's about 40 people that will be employed at the new recycling facility, the automated equipment that detects whether it's paper or plastic will think that the paper is a piece of plastic because it's in a plastic bag.
And that's really neat technology too, the way that they use light to determine automatically what kind of material is there. So if you got two different types of material, plastic, wrapping, paper, and I don't want to paraphrase your industry here, Calvin, because you are the expert, but I thought that was so neat that they can tell that from just shining a light through the objects. A really neat part of the plant here. And so what about, so we talked about the bags around newspaper, what about plastic grocery bags?
Plastic grocery bags would also be recyclable. If you take your grocery bags back to the grocery store, you will ensure that they'll be cleaner for possible recycling. One of the downsides to recycling everything in one bin is everything gets mingled and commingled with the other items. This is one of the reasons why we ask for it to be as clean as possible.
Sure.
Plastic bags that you ask about are one of the items that we have to keep very, very clean in order to recycle them. So by putting them in the bin, we do recover them, they are recyclable, but it's more challenging mixed with the other material. And
that would be another material I would assume that as it goes through the process can really become a very fine dust as it gets shredded. So if you take it to the store where you purchased it, they're baling those, right? And then you're processing it here on your industrial side of the operation.
That's correct. We do recycle baled bags for many of the retail grocers and retail establishments locally. It's a very recyclable item. The bag also gets caught on conveyors, caught on equipment, it clogs equipment. They can be a bit problematic for the processing equipment, but they are very recyclable.
So Calvin, I know you guys are scrambling here to get open. No reason to think that it won't be open in time. We're all excited to see everything up and running as well. Can you walk us through a little bit of how this plant's going to operate and what the sort of steps in processing of recycling is?
Certainly. Well, our other plant that's been recycling your material for many years is still operational, and we're still going to run it until we're ready to flip the switch and turn everything on here. The difference we spoke about earlier, where everything's mixed together. So some key equipment that we have in the facility is the first step that separates the paper from the bottles and cans. So if you think about all of the newspaper, cardboard, magazines, there are screening equipment, trommels, and we call them ballistic separators that work very violently and much like a Stairmaster that you might have at your house. I never use mine, but the fiber is segregated from the bottles and cans. And then after the bottles and cans are separated on conveyors, the optical equipment that you mentioned earlier that detects the different types of plastics automatically separates those so that the workers can just provide a quality control inspection to make sure, because quite honestly, we're all doing such a great job recycling, there's simply too many bottles and cans to hand pick anymore.
Sure.
So automation, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes a downside to the automation, people think there are going to be less jobs. There are actually more because we have to have people that can also maintain that equipment.
Well, and it's so much easier to just commingle all your recycling, right? In theory and in practice, you generate more when you're doing that.
Right.
The ballistic, say it again, It's
a ballistic separator.
And so hopefully we're going to get some footage of this. It's an incredible piece of equipment. You mentioned the Stairmaster and that they're all on their own individual tracks and how that separates it. And so much of that automation part of it, really, the safety implications for the workers is pretty astounding, because all of that heavy equipment, you're not even having individuals in that area. They're at sorting on the line. But then when you get into those larger automated processes, that's really just quality control at that point is the exposure there. Some really exciting equipment.
It is a much, much safer environment. I can't tell you over the years, and we do much better than we did 20 years ago when we started, but over the years, the cut hand or something caught on a conveyor, and this is a much, much safer approach.
That's great. That's really exciting. So if residents have any questions about what they can recycle or how the plant works or some additional information about the company, they can visit raisetrash.com.
That's correct. And look for updates. I suspect over the next 10 years, we'll be adding some more items to the list.
It's a long contract, and hopefully one of the reasons why it was so beneficial and we got such advantageous rates is because a lot of this equipment takes a long time to pay off. It takes a long time to realize its potential and to get up and running. And so having the access to a long-term contract really is cost effective and advantageous to the various people that submitted bids, and
Right.
Obviously in this particular instance, Ray's was the most competitive.
And beneficial to the town as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to reiterate, if it's recyclable and it's on that list that we've shown, go ahead and put it in here loose.
Right.
They'll handle the sorting here at the plant. It's some really neat technology, and hopefully we get a chance to come back when it's all up and running and
Absolutely.
get to see it work.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing that it's not up and running, though, because then we can hear each other as we're having a conversation. So I want to talk a little bit about the schedule. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, your collection schedule is going to remain the same, with heavy trash being collected the second week of most months, but make sure you consult your schedule or give us a call before you put out your heavy trash items. Recycling will continue to be bi-weekly, so the first collection of 2015 will actually be from Republic. That will be your last collection with that container. So you'll take your recycling out on either the 6th, 7th, or 8th, whatever your collection day is. They will dispose of your recycling and leave a new container. Ray's will then, some point during that week, and it may be before it's collected, drop off your new recycling container that you'll use again 2 weeks later. If you have any questions about the collection, feel free to call us, 246-4141. With that said, Calvin, we have had a couple questions from residents that just aren't able to maneuver the container. What do you recommend that they do?
We recommend, first of all, that they give it a try. It is very convenient. We realize that a one-size-fits-all program sometimes doesn't fit all, and we can respect that. We would just ask, if you are having problems with the cart, contact the town. They'll contact us, and we can make some type of alternate arrangement.
So if you're not able to use the cart, just give us a call, 246-4141. One of the questions we get a lot of, what if I just have one bag of trash and I just set my garbage out there on the street, and that's what I'm used to? I don't generate a lot of waste. Is that something that can get picked up? Now, I know you're going to say you need to try it, and obviously, folks, we do encourage you to give the totes a try. They roll really well. Yes, they're large, but it's a convenience, and it's also a safety feature for the guys that work for Ray's and that pick it up. We'll get a chance to talk about some of that here in a little bit. But with that said, if I've got a single item, what do you all suggest we do there?
We would just ask you to set it at the curb the same way you have for many years. We'll make your one bag go away.
That's what we like to hear. They're really, really anxious to work with us as a customer and as a client, a great community partner here in Ray's. With that said, we're switching to automated service. Talk a little bit about how that's safer for your employees, and also does switching to automation lead to fewer employees for you guys?
No, not necessarily. There will be no layoffs as a result of this contract. Actually, more people hired for the staffing of the recycling facility. So the environment that automation creates is safer because the heavy lifting is done by the truck now and contained within the cart. You don't see the guy on the back of the truck that could slip and fall as he steps on or off of the truck. He's not bending, reaching, straining. And it also allows us to hire folks that stay in the cab of the truck all day, as opposed to being on and off the truck.
You're going to be much less likely to slip on the ice, have to deal in inclement weather.
Correct.
It's just a much safer operation, and it's really good to hear too that you guys are going to be able to actually hire more people as part of this program.
Yes.
Because you think sometimes you shift to automation, right? It's more efficient, you need fewer people, but this is actually making your operation larger while at the same time making it more efficient. That's really exciting for us. So, okay, hypothetically, I'm somebody who lives in town with a really big family. Can I get another cart?
Absolutely. I hope it's for recycling.
Yes. Well, so, and that's one of the benefits of this program too, is you'll have the same size container for both, and it gives you an opportunity during that bi-weekly recycling pickup to generate more waste. if you're interested in a second recycling container, contact us at 246-4141, and we'll make sure we get that information over to Ray's. Calvin, those are all the questions that I got, and I really appreciate all your time and the answers to various citizens' questions that we've had, and also for showing us around the plant. This is such an exciting operation, and I get it. I'm kind of a nerd about these sorts of things. When you think about the amount of solid waste and recycling that a household generates, you know, that you're able to repurpose and reduce the amount of waste because of a state-of-the-art facility right here in Indianapolis, that we're going to be able to use for the next 10 years. It's really exciting. And Calvin, we appreciate your bid. We appreciate all the years of service, and we're really looking forward to working with you for the next 10 years. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, continue to send us your questions. We'll do our best. We may not do another community magazine piece because once this place is up and running, we're going to have to wear hard hats, and so shooting here on site is going to be tough. So, but continue to send those in. Check out our Facebook feed. Check out the website. And feel free to call us if you have questions, 246-4141. This is another issue of Community Magazine. I'm Ian Nicolini. Thanks for joining us.
Speedway Community Magazine, helping you get connected, stay informed, and be a part of the community. Information you want, information you need on Speedway Community Magazine.